I could sit through the most powerful church service and not feel moved at all. And, the older I got, the more I realized, something is wrong. And then obviously with the culmination of my addiction to alcohol, I just woke up one day and said, this has got to change. Something has got to change. I don't think I'm saved. My name is Joel Perry. I'm 38 years old. I was born and raised in Nashville. Currently, I live in Gallatin. As far as a profession goes, I'm a turf grass specialist for the city of Goodlettsville Parks and Recreation Department. I met my wife in church at a previous church that I went to. We have three children: Haley, who's 13, Emmett, who's 5, and Hayden, who's almost 4. Actually, my 2 youngest children have a genetic condition. It's called HSP. There's like 20,000 cases in the world, and both of my children have it. And it's often misdiagnosed as like cerebral palsy. It affects the way that they walk. It's not curable. It's a progressive disease. A lot of kids end up in wheelchairs and stuff as they go forward, just because walking so funny makes you have very bad joint, back, hip, ankle problems, things like that. And so, that was something that I struggled with, was that diagnosis. Because when we got that, my drinking and stuff ramped up a lot because I was heartbroken. I never grew up around that. None of my family drank. It was something that I got into, I guess, when I was in high school, college, and just kind of always used it as a coping mechanism. Didn't really realize I had a problem. Just kind of chalked it off to, oh, well, that's what you do in high school, or, stuff like that, even though I'd gone to church and knew that was not the right way to do things. I think it stems a lot from just not following God in my life, and instead of turning to God, I turned to that instead, to find comfort in. And then it just progressed over the time, and before I knew it, I had a very serious problem that almost cost me everything. I was at probably the lowest point I've ever been in my life. I was on the verge of losing everything. My family, I lost my business that I had, lost some friends and some close people. And, I think that I had to get to that lowest point in my life to realize that, I had thought that I was handling everything myself. I had lied to myself so much. I thought because I had a successful business and because I made good money and because I took care of my family that I didn't have any kind of issues. And I think it was in my lowest point that I realized how much I needed God. I was, started questioning myself, and I'm like, my life and the way that I live doesn't match the life of a person who's saved. Why can't I just feel anything? I did not even feel like I could feel any type of emotion. My heart had just been hardened for so long. And so I started questioning that. And then I just thought to myself one day, like, you're not saved. The Holy Spirit is not in your heart. That's what's wrong with you. So I called my mom and I talked to her on the phone, and I just said, Mom, I don't feel like I'm saved. And it was at night. I remember I was sitting in my living room. It was almost pitch black in there. And so I called my mom after I put the kids down for bed, and I asked her, I said, Mom, I've been in church my whole life. I said, but I want to ask you a question. I said, do you think I'm saved? And she said, why do you say that? And I said, because I don't feel that I am. I said, there's no way I've been living the life that I've been living, and I have the Holy Spirit in my heart, and that I'm saved. And I said, it was hard for me to say because I've been in church my whole life. But now that I sit back and look at it, I realize there's a lot of people like that. There's probably a lot of people that go through the motions for years and years. I mean, for me, at that point, it was like 37 years of going to church every Wednesday, every Sunday, being in youth groups and everything. And I wasn't. And so my mom asked me, she said, well, Joel, she's like, your salvation is very important. She's like, it's important to me too, as your mother. She's like, you would have called me, with this question if you weren't wanting to be saved. And I said, well, that's why I'm calling you. I need to be saved. I want to be saved. I have the desire to be saved. And so she prayed the prayer with me. And I immediately felt just a relief, and just like because I had worried for a long time, like, I don't want to die and go to hell. You know, for several years, I got to thinking about that, and especially the type of life I was living. You know, I was like, man, if I died today, I don't think I would go to heaven. And that scared me to death. If that doesn't scare you, something's wrong, you know. So I got saved that night, and then, you know, still had some rough patches there. Ended up going to treatment a couple of weeks later to really get the help that I needed, because I did not understand the disease of alcoholism and addiction. I didn't even know it was a disease or any of that concept. But when I got to treatment at Cumberland Heights, that's where that was kind of laid out to me. And within a few days of being there, you know, that's when I had my spiritual awakening. Like, God just like enveloped me. He was like, you're here for a reason. And I just felt his peace. When they say the peace that surpasses all understanding, that's what it was for me at that moment. Like, I mean, it was just, it was like that whatever that cold, hard thing in my heart was, it just melted. Like, it was gone. And I could finally feel and have emotion. And, you know, I cried, and I was just like, you know, I'm at the lowest point in my life that I've ever been, but I felt peace, and I knew that it was going to be okay. And ever since that day, you know, I've always felt his presence with me. I always know that he's there. Because I lost so much because of my addiction, like literally almost everything. My wife told me in treatment, the only reason that I'm not divorcing you because of all the things you've done is because you've never gotten professional help before. So that's it. So you better get it right. But, you know, I lost my business. I lost countless friends, facing legal issues, things like that, from a DUI. And within a year of treatment, every single one of those issues was resolved. I have a job that I actually love more than I did my business. The crazy story behind my legal issues with the DUI, my case was dismissed and my record was expunged. I don't know how. I mean, I know how. God did it. But, you know, I was facing some serious, like I was facing up to a year in jail because of how high my blood alcohol content was and stuff like that, because they were charging me with aggravated DUI. You know, I had totaled my truck. I flipped it over in a creek. If I'd gotten knocked out, I would have drowned because the water was all the way up in the truck. I had to climb out the top, you know. And so it's just this, like, where God has taken me. And I'm actually, a year ago today, I went to treatment. And I don't think it's a coincidence at all that exactly a year to the day that I went to treatment, I'm sitting here sharing my testimony. That's how God works. That's how God changes people's hearts and changes people, you know. Because none of those things I just mentioned were because of me. God blessed me with those things because I have chosen to follow him and do my best every single day to live his will in my life. Because I lived my own will for so long, and I know what that gets me, and I don't want any part of it. I mean, I think my wife would agree with me now that, you know, our life is 1,000 times better than it was, you know, but we're excited for God's future in our lives, and especially since, you know, so much pain and despair is behind us now. To anyone watching this video today, I just want to let you know that if you're feeling that you have some questions or that you may not be saved, we want to help you today. There's a number on your screen that you'll be able to call, along with anyone here at First Baptist Gallatin on Main. We would love to talk to you, and any help that you need, we would love to be there for you. Thank you.